Good day, everyone. I'm Julia Angela Avelino from BS Ed Filipino 3A, and this is the continuation of Guide 7 Philosophical Foundation of Curriculum. Essentialism comes from the word essential, which means the main things or the basics. As an educational philosophy, it advocates instilling in students with the essentials or basics of academic knowledge and character development. The term essentialism as an educational philosophy was originally popularized in the 1930s by William Bagley and later in the 1950s by Arthur Bester and Admiral Rickover. When it was first introduced as an educational philosophy in American schools, it was criticized as being too rigid. In 1957, the Russians launched Sputnik, which caused a panic in educational circles as Americans felt they had fallen behind the Soviet Union technologically. A rethinking of education followed that led to interest in essentialism. Essentialism was grounded in a conservative philosophy that argues that schools should not try to radically reshape society. Rather, they should transmit traditional moral values and intellectual knowledge that students need to become model citizens. Essentialists believe that teachers should instill traditional virtues such as respect for authority, fidelity to duty, consideration for others, and practicality. Essentialism places importance on science and understanding the world through scientific experimentation. To convey important knowledge about the world, essentialist educators emphasize instruction in natural science rather than non-scientific disciplines such as philosophy or comparative religion. The Essentialist Curriculum. Based on the beliefs of essentialism, the curriculum proposed has the following characteristics. First, the basics of the essentialist curriculum are mathematics, natural science, history, foreign language, and literature. Essentialists disapprove of vocational, life adjustment, or other courses with watered-down academic content. Elementary students receive instruction in skills such as writing, reading, and measurement. Even while learning art and music, subjects most often associated with the development of creativity. Students are required to master a body of information and basic techniques, gradually moving from less to more complex skills and detailed knowledge. Only by mastering the required material for their grade level are students promoted to the next higher grade. Essentialist programs are academically rigorous for both slow and fast learners. Common subjects for all students regardless of abilities and interests, but how much is to be learned is adjusted according to student ability. It advocates a longer school day, a longer academic year, and more challenging textbooks. Essentialists maintain that classrooms should be oriented around the teacher, who serves as the intellectual and moral role model for students. Teaching is teacher centered, and teachers decide what is most important for students to learn with little emphasis on student interest because it will divert time and attention from learning the academic subjects. Essentialist teachers focus heavily on achievement, test scores as a means of evaluating progress. What is progressivism? Progressivism is a philosophical belief that argues that education must be based on the fact that humans are by nature social and learn best in real life activities with other people. The person most responsible for progressivism was John Dewey, 1859 to 1952. The progressive movement stimulated American schools to broaden their curriculum, making education more relevant to the needs and interests of students. Dewey wrote extensively on psychology, epistemology, the origin of knowledge, ethics, and democracy. But his philosophy of education laid the foundation for progressivism. In 1896, while a professor at the University of Chicago, Dewey founded the famous laboratory school to test his educational ideas. His writings and work with the laboratory school set the stage for the progressive education movement. According to Dewey, the role of education is to transmit society's identity by preparing young people for adult life. He was a keen advocate of democracy, and for it to flourish, he felt that education should allow learners to realize their interests and potential. Learners should learn to work with others because learning in isolation separates the mind from action. According to him, certain abilities and skills can only be learned in a group. Social and intellectual interaction dissolves the artificial barriers of race and class by encouraging communication between various social groups. Dewey 1920. He described education as a process of growth and experimentation in which thought and reason are applied to the solution of problems. Children should learn as if they were scientists using the scientific method proposed by Dewey 1920. First, to be aware of the problem. Example, plants need sunlight to grow. Second, define the problem. Example, can plants grow without sunlight? Third, propose hypothesis to solve it. Fourth, test the hypothesis. Fifth, evaluate the best solution to the problem. That's all. Thank you for listening.